Alright guys, so as promised, what we're going to do is we are going to be attaching a bunch of little components to this blank circuit board, and we're going to be soldering them on for practice. There's not really any set thing you have to do other than you have to at least solder 2 or 3 of these onto the board and then take a picture, alright, and submit that picture. If you would like to do the whole board, you want to fill it up, that is great. Get as much practice as possible. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to show you how to put the actual components onto the board. I'm just going to do resistors, but you'll kind of get the idea about keeping them neat and clean. And then I'm going to solder at least 1 or 2 on for you guys so you can see what my hope or my expectations are. All right, so let's go ahead and get the soldering iron out and let's give it a shot. All right guys, so I got my my circuit board here. It looks like you can actually see things a little bit better this way, so that's awesome. And I just have a resistor. Oops. Like I said, I'm just going to use a resistor. You should be getting them, and they come pretty much like this. You can get them with a little bit thicker wire, but for the most part they should look exactly like this. So what you want to do is I always just kind of hold it up to the bar or the board, determine how many holes it's going to take. So to me, the actual resistor is going to cover about 3 holes, and then the lines should go into the ones outside of those 3 holes. So all I do is I take it and I actually just put my first end in, and then I leave myself, a little extra. Try to get back down here for you guys to see. And then I go into 3 holes from there. All right. So you notice now I've got my resistor is kind of just sitting in here like this. I take it, press it all the way up against here, up against that board, and then just kind of try to tightly kind of push these over, okay? So now it's held nice, just like that. And I personally like to do one item at a time. So I would do one, heat it up, solder it in, and then move on to the next one, all right? So what we're gonna do is I'm just gonna set this thing down. Let's see if we can kind of get a little bit closer. I think that's probably the best we're gonna be able to do. So I just kind of get it close. I'm gonna take my soldering iron, which I've already tinned the tip of, and I am just going to put it right here where that piece of, where this line comes through that hole, and just let it sit there for a couple seconds. Let it heat up, okay? And then as soon as it's, there we go. Just like that, and we'll get a close-up of that, you'll see that it's a nice dot around it. This tip is probably a little bit big and I got a lot of solder on it. So I'm just gonna go ahead and let this one heat up. Oops, get on there, oops, ooh. Yeah, we definitely do not want to be creating such a big amount there. Okay, so now I can go ahead and we'll get this thing a little bit closer. You can see that right here, I've got a nice little dollop on that junction where that hole meets that wire. Same over here, I just had a lot on my tip, and I probably should have actually cleaned it off and not been carrying so much. So be very careful of that when you're doing this, all right? So now the final part will be that you should just bend these up, just like this. And then we're gonna take our side cutters, and we're gonna come in nice and tight as you possibly can, and we're just gonna cut them off, all right? There we go. All right. There should be very, very little wire hanging out. You kind of see how much I have. And then you can see that my resistor is just right there on the surface. Okay? So that's pretty much the whole process of soldering something to a circuit board. Like I said again, just be careful that you don't have a ton of extra solder on your tip like I did. And then all you're gonna do is take it, press it up against that hole and that wire, and then as soon as it's nice and warm, go ahead and touch your solder to the wire and that hole, and it should just kind of suck in there. It's actually a lot easier than you think it would be. So go ahead and give this a shot. Like I said, you can totally fill this whole board up. Try to make them look as nice and neat and clean. You can actually see the one that somebody put on this board for me is they left a lot of extra here, and we don't like that. We want this thing to be as close to the board as possible. Okay, we can easily cut those wires off later if it's all the way down. So go ahead and give this a shot. Like I said, do 2 or 3, take a picture, submit it. Good luck.